Everyone, coming with our January 11th report from the Revolutionary Fitness Academy. So some of the organizational updates this week. The first big one, of course, is with the recent news of the passing of our friend Angie, one of our trainers based out of Miami, who passed away last Thursday in a motor vehicle accident. Um, we're still obviously in mourning and kind of dealing with the passing of Angie, and it's an emotional time for us. And if you need anyone to talk to, feel free to reach out to us. Anyone on leadership is available to talk to. So there'll be a service for Angie in Gothenburg, Sweden, this Sunday, which is where her family's based, and then in the coming weeks there'll be another one in Miami. So we'll keep you posted on all of that stuff. But of course, keep the memory of Angie alive in your thoughts, and again, feel free to reach out to us. Another big announcement is that the director team has voted and approved the Revolutionary Fitness Academy's official membership in the U.S. FWC, the United States Federation of Worker Cooperatives. The Academy will be signing on as an official worker cooperative developer. We've had worker co-op development in our curriculum since we rolled out our new affiliate program that mandated affiliates to be worker co-ops. But this will be taking it to the next level, and we'll be developing more workshops and courses in the next couple weeks and months. And not only to RevFit trainers, but we'll be opening up that to basically anyone who wants to form a worker-owned co-op in the health, fitness, wellness world. We'll be developing curriculum and programming to support them to get trained up on how to run a worker co-op and business development and all that kind of stuff. So that's very exciting news. And of course, we'll be rolling out those details to everyone over the next couple of weeks as well. Those are the two major updates this week. And the next thing I want to talk about is our podcast. So we haven't had an episode of RevFit Radio for the past 3 weeks or so because of the holiday season. And this week, there was just some technical issues at the People's Forum, which is where we host our podcast. They're renovating the sound room that we do our podcast out of and bringing in new equipment and all that kind of stuff. So that's very exciting. So our podcast will be going to the next level in terms of audio quality and production. If you haven't already, check out some of the episodes we've already done this season. We put out a good batch, I think around 10 already this season. And that's with me and Renee hosting that show with our producers, Arsenio and Iris, holding it down in the background and really, helping us take the podcast to the next level. So again, next Thursday, 8:30 p.m., we're planning to come back with our first episode of the season. And it's actually going to be on one of the topics that I'm going to discuss later on in this report in terms of kind of conservative thinking within the health and fitness industry. That will be the next episode next Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Some upcoming events that we have going on. So we were supposed to have yesterday a workshop at the People's Forum around eating plant-based on a budget. But again, People's Forum is going through some renovations, so we pushed that event back to next month. So it's going to be happening on the second Thursday of next month. And if you haven't been to one of our community workshops yet, we have this community workshop here in New York City where we'll talk on a topic for an hour, hour and a half, and then we transition it into a live recording of our podcast. So it's actually like a live studio audience for our podcast. And so we had a really, really cool one last month on fitness justice. So next month we'll be having one on eating plant-based on a budget, which is a really important topic for a lot of us. Also, we have our new political study series that is happening 2 times a month on a given topic. So this month we were planning on meeting on January 12th and the 26th. Because of the stuff going around with Angie this past week, we didn't get to it. We got kind of behind schedule, so we've changed the dates to January 26th and February 3rd. I think I double check your schedule, but that first Saturday of February. So those would be the 2 classes on the topic of food justice. So food justice is one of a very close kind of social justice struggle to the work that we do with fitness justice. There's a lot of overlap. We do a lot of work with food justice organizations. So we're going to be studying what food justice is, and also how it ties into the work that we do. So those two classes are going to be happening online. Those two Saturday mornings from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We put out a flyer on the Slack chats yesterday. If you're interested in joining, you didn't see those flyers, and you have the time available, you have those 2 dates available, please, hit us up and let us know you're interested so we can shoot over the study material. And then basically the way those run is you get the study material, you study as much as you can prior to the conversations, and then the conversations are facilitated by 2 facilitators, and that's 2 classes for 1 topic. So they're different classes, class 1 and class 2, going over different subject matter, different angles of the subject matter, which is food justice this month. So definitely join us for that next class series. Another upcoming event is next weekend in New York City. We're going to be hosting our next 30-hour People's Trainer Intensive. So for all of you who are candidates who are looking to finish your certification, next weekend it is here, time for certification. And so it's going to be 30 hours of a lot of fun working out together, exercising, learning, reviewing all the material that you've learned over the past 4 months, and of course doing our test outs. Now, if you are not going through your certification, you are of course invited to participate. If you're already a certified trainer, to assist, be available for the new incoming class, and of course it's always good to refresh yourself on all the stuff that you go over in certification. And definitely on the Sunday morning of our certification on the 20th, next Sunday, if you are available to come through for the testing period and be there to cheer on the candidates and support them as they're testing out, definitely come through for that if you can. Great. So those are upcoming events this month. The last thing we want to discuss every week is kind of some of the things that are going on in the world politically that could be affecting our work and that we should take note of. There's some ones that are more obvious than others, I would say, in terms of how they relate to our work. But one of the big things right now is happening in France is the protests against austerity, that the French workers have been taken to the streets and have been holding general strikes and engaging with riot police and all this kind of stuff. And the French government, which has been really, really corrupt for decades, is basically being challenged by the workers of France. It's a very exciting time in France, and something that we should take note of, obviously, because whenever there is a portion of the international population that is kind of standing up and fighting back against the government that they're working with, it also affects all other imperialist governments around the world. So definitely pay attention to what's going on in France. Stay up to date with it, and see what the actions the workers are taking and how you can support from wherever you are in the world. But one thing I wanted to take note of is there was a video that went viral of this former boxing champion who who's a French working class guy, and who got in one of the protests and started fighting back against the riot police, and really effectively, where he was just like punching through their riot shields and punching through their riot helmets and really inflicting some pain on them. You could tell that they were getting rocked by these punches. And it was just a reminder that the work that we do in terms of, getting people fit and exercising is essential, especially in really heated situations like this when people have to engage with the state, and they're able to fight back and they're able to hold their ground and not get beaten up. So definitely, make sure that you're watching that stuff. Put out a call for some more self-defense classes in your area. There's obviously a need for self-defense in our communities with all the things that are happening around the world. So that's something to take note of. The other thing to take note of is what's going on within the U.S. with the government shutdown. So today marks the 21st day of the government shutdown. It's tied for the longest government shutdown in U.S. history, and is probably going to pass the record. Which is kind of crazy. And of course, if you don't know what's going on, basically it's this standoff where the president of the United States, Donald Trump, is demanding money to fund the building of a wall on the U.S.-Mexican border, which is an obvious infringement on human rights and kind of just treating people as subhuman and as super racist and xenophobic. And he's really trying to whip up that sector of the U.S. Working class, get them hating folks that are coming in from the southern borders and things like this. So it's obviously something that we don't want and we need to fight against. But the U.S. government shutdown is basically this standoff between him and everyone else, especially the Democrats, but even Republicans standing against the funding of this wall. You should understand that the Democrats are not taking a very hard position. They're kind of like, oh, we'll keep it, the government shut down until you back down. They're not really taking any offensive to try to really attack Trump's attempt to develop this wall. And it's kind of they're kind of being wishy-washy, and so that's leading to this prolonged shutdown, which I would say is Trump's fault, but also the Democratic Party's fault. But so follow that, stay up to date. But the biggest thing is that the shutdown is affecting the largest employer in the U.S., the U.S. government. So government workers, many of them are on furlough, some of them are working without pay. Some of them are just in limbo, and we're talking about U.S. workers who are, now 3 weeks in without getting paychecks and potentially could be waiting for another paycheck not until 2 weeks from today. So how that affects our work is obviously there's a lot of folks who participate in our services, go to our facilities, who work for the government and might not be able to pay their membership dues and things like that. We should definitely be giving out waivers, waiving fees for our members if they're government workers, maybe even putting up announcements to invite government workers to come work out with us for free as long as the government shutdown is happening, so that we can ensure that our folks are not suffering, right? Like people are struggling to pay their rent and their mortgage and all this kind of stuff. We shouldn't be further burdening them with membership fees for the gym. We should be supporting them in this time of struggle. Again, the U.S. government is the largest employer of U.S. workers in the country. So many, many people are affected by this government shutdown. And of course, the last thing that I want to talk about on this week's report is the development of this border wall and kind of the neoconservative, neo-fascist kind of rhetoric that's being said around immigrants coming in from through the U.S.-Mexican border, and kind of the dehumanizing of folks from Latin America and Central America. And many of us come from Latin America and Central America and obviously can relate to this dehumanizing tactic. But there's many people who are in support of the wall or some kind of measure like the development of a wall. And we need to make sure that we're combating those ideas publicly. And this week, one of the leading health and fitness influencers in the country, Elliot Hulse, who has millions of YouTube followers and 250,000 Instagram followers and tons of people following him on Facebook, he reposted Donald Trump's picture calling for the border protection, calling for the wall. And he reposted it and he was in support of it. For those who don't know, Elliot Hulse is a person of color who lives in Florida. I think he is a military brat. I'm not really sure, but it's just he used his platform to spread some more hate, and things like that need to be called out, and we need to really make sure that we're kind of providing a counter thought, because you might think, oh, that was a bad move on his part. He's going to use a lot of followers because of it. But the reality is that his posts usually get on average around 700 or 800 likes. I did some research. That post right now is nearly at 8,000 likes. So 10 times more likes than he usually gets, being one of his most liked posts, at least in the past few months. So it's important to note that there are a lot of people who kind of stand against immigrants, and we need to make sure within the health and fitness industry, we are promoting these progressive ideas and standing up for immigrants, and making sure that our sisters and brothers are not being further persecuted and attacked. All right, so that's the report for January 11th. Let us know if you have any questions, comments, and we'll see you next Friday. All right, peace.